Welcome to another edition of Let's Play WWE 2015. The series that never ends is continuing, and if you remember a couple weeks back when I posted a poll on Twitter asking you all if you would prefer seeing longer Let's Plays, well, do I got a surprise for you in the next video for this series as a way to shake things up a little bit for the never-ending series that is WWE 2015. And also, this way we can get to WrestleMania that much sooner. So, without further ado, let me hook us up with another pre-show match tonight on SmackDown. And then let's jump into the show. I will say this, that the reason why you still see D'Lo Brown on the roster is because I just chose not to release him. I just chose not to buy out the remaining months of his contract, and I chose just to keep him around. Does that mean D'Lo is gonna come back to TV? Probably not. But who knows, as he's only here for another 10 days, and I didn't expect to actually have him show up on camera. So, who knows? But either way, let's now jump into the first match of the pre-show as Solomon Crowe goes up against Mark Henry. And yes, even though this may be the first time you've seen Solomon Crowe on camera, Solomon has been up since late last year, because remember, though in real WWE, developmental in this game is not based on the same thing as it is in real WWE, because once the superstars' stats are peaked, they come up. Because if they can't get any better, there's no reason indirectly for them to remain in developmental. So, either way, Mark Henry beats the rarely seen Solomon Crowe. And, for the first time in a while, Joe Hennig actually gets a victory, this time over CJ Parker. As now, we jump into Friday Night SmackDown, as Jason Albert, Scott Hudson, and Jerry the King Lawler welcome us to tonight's broadcast live from the Sullivan Arena. And they hype up matches because tonight we will see Dean Ambrose in action, and also the second half of the Picture Poison match for the feud between Kurt Angle and Ken Shamrock, as Shamrock goes up against his Attitude Era counterpart, Christian. And also, we will hear from the Viper, Randy Orton, later tonight. All that and more on SmackDown. Now, Randy Orton doesn't waste any time, as he is the first man to hit the ring on tonight's edition of SmackDown, and Randy goes off on how much he hates Seth Rollins and how delusional Seth Rollins has become, and because he went through the exact same thing with Hunter back in Evolution, and then once the Authority was formed, because Seth may forget, but at one time Randy Orton was the undisputed future of the WWE. You know something, Randy? You just hear a voice, and then Seth ascends from the backstage area. You know something, Randy? You don't sound like you're trying to help. You sound like a bitter, grumpy, old man trying to hang on to what's left of his past. But I hate to break it to you, Randy. I hate to break it to you because I am better than you ever hoped to be. I have more talent, more ability, and more potential than you ever had. You might have thought you were born to do this, but I know I was born to do this. Because I had to work twice as hard and twice as long as you did, because I didn't have Daddy to come and open doors for me. I had to bust them open by myself. Yeah, Seth, I've seen you do a lot of that in WWE, but usually you usually here you're not busting doors open for yourself. You're busting doors open to hold them open for Stephanie and Triple H. Because I might have had my father help me get into the WWE, but I had to work my ass off to get to where I am today. You have Mommy and Daddy to thank for you getting to where you are today. What do you have to say to that? Well, Hunter takes over and says, Randy, that's enough. You want to keep running your mouth? How about you show why you're not a bitter, grumpy veteran, and next week on Raw, you take on Chris Sabin one-on-one. You wanna still be a part of the future. Prove you belong in the future, because you may think you have a definite spot on WrestleMania. You haven't proven that you deserve to be on WrestleMania. Prove me wrong, Randy. Now we move forward as the first match for Raw is announced. Randy Orton going up against Chris Sabin next week on Raw. And now a match that was made after Ziggler beat Rusev on Raw with the help of Rob Van Dam. Rusev defeats Dolph Ziggler to retain the WWE United States title with the help of Bad News Barrett, and Barrett and Rusev beat down Dolph after the match, which causes the long-term adversary of Rusev, Rob Van Dam, to make his presence known at ringside as he runs off the League of Nations, helping Dolph Ziggler and saving him from a serious beating. The one question that needs to be asked is, will things ever be settled between Rob and the League of Nations? Now we move forward. Quick match, nothing more than just to get the Big Show on TV, as now I'm pretty much using him as an ambassador like WWE did, or does in real life. And instead of making him turn heel and go into the Authority and turn face and turn heel and then turn face, I'm just keeping him a babyface and not really using him. Random squash matches, whatever the heck. Now we head backstage. Now we head back to the announce booth with Scott Hudson and his predecessors as they discuss what happened last week on Monday night, over the last couple of weeks between the Dust Brothers, as a few weeks ago on Raw, Stardust turned his back on Goldust following their tag team match against the Primetime Players, and since then Goldust has tried to get a word with his brother, but to no avail, and Goldust was seen talking on the phone on Raw to somebody who we found out will be appearing this Monday night on Raw. And yes, if you think you know who it is, you probably do. Now we head to the Pick Your Poison match as Christian loses to the world's most dangerous man, Ken Shamrock. in my opinion, a lackluster match, but maybe the type of match that Ken Shamrock can do, or the only type of match Ken Shamrock can do, since he is 47 years old, on the decline. Or 50, no, Kurt's 47, he's 51? I honestly don't know how old he is, I would have to look. But after the match, he grabs the mic, and he goes off, and starts talking about Kurt Angle, and how Kurt Angle's accomplishments outside of WWE don't mean a damn thing. And how when he was here, they showed him nothing but disrespect, and once Kurt Angle walked through the door, they rolled out the red carpet and gave him everything he wanted. Ken Shamrock, once again, I want to ask, do you guys prefer me doing these promos in the third person or the first person? For right now, I'm going to do it in the third person, because I'm going to be talking as if I'm the creative writer and not Ken Shamrock. Or the narrator. Ken Shamrock would then go on to say that he's a real fighter. Kurt Angle just fought in the Olympics. Ken Shamrock fought for a living. If Kurt Angle was ever caught dead in an MMA octagon, he would get his ass kicked. Just like he's gonna kick Kurt Angle's ass at WrestleMania and teach him who the best fighter is. Strong words from the UFC legend. I wonder what you'll hear from the Olympic Gold. I wonder what Kurt Angle has to say back. But you won't hear from Kurt Angle tonight because it's Ken Shamrock's night. Angle's night was on Raw. But either way, we head back to the cohorts at ringside as they put over the fact that on Monday night, Vince McMahon will be back on Raw to acknowledge what the hacker said in his last speech, or in his last appearance, telling Vince that he has a surprise for him at WrestleMania. Now we head back to ringside, back to the ring, as Jack Swagger goes up against Fandango, and Jack gets the victory over the floundering Dancing with the Stars reject. But either way, following the match, the major reason why this match actually happened comes to fruition as Jack Swagger gets the mic and calls out Ryback. Challenging him to a match at Jack Swagger starts to say, "I challenge you to a match." He looks back at the banner of WrestleMania hanging high above the arena and says, "You know what, Ryback? I can't wait. I want to face you one-on-one in 2 weeks at the Road to WrestleMania WWE Network Special, because I want a piece of you, and I don't want to wait till WrestleMania." The big guy is more than willing to kick your ass any time of day, whether it's at WrestleMania in front of 60,000 people or on the WWE Network Special against in front of 20,000. It don't matter to the big guy, because I'm hungry for a beatdown. You got it. If I win, Ryback, I want 5 minutes with Zeb Coulter. Because Zeb, I know This isn't you. And if you taught me anything, it's that I don't use words to reason with someone. I beat it out of them. 5 minutes with Zeb Coulter when I beat you, Ryback. You done. You're not gonna beat me, don't worry about it. So the first match has been set for the WWE Network Special in 2 weeks, live on the WWE Network, as Jack Swagger will face Ryback. And if Swagger wins, he gets 5 minutes alone with Zeb Coulter following the match. The match that was built up on Raw, and another tag team tournament match, as the primetime players go up against the Usos, and the primetime players are victorious, as we may be seeing now a new tag team head for the top contender spot against Cesaro and Kid, as not just WrestleMania approaches, but the network special mentioned earlier by Jack Swagger. But before Darren and Titus have long to celebrate, they are interrupted by Sheamus and Bad News Barrett of the League of Nations, and they mention what I mentioned earlier tonight, as they say that they are sick and tired of Rob Van Dam, and they want to be a part of this little tag team tournament to see who challenges Cesaro and Kid, because they're ready to make their mark and take over the tag team division from the lackluster teams that have been ruining the division thus far. But it isn't ended there, as David Otunga makes his way out to the ring and interrupts Sheamus and Barrett from continuing to run down both Titus, the Usos, and the entire tag team division. And Otunga comes out and mentions that the Ascension want their fair opportunity against Cesaro and Kid, because the only time that the Ascension was given a chance was when the odds were stacked against them, because management is afraid of the Ascension. Because management doesn't want to give the Ascension the opportunities that they had to become the greatest team in NXT history. And if you don't believe me, just look at the evidence. Titus says, "Shut up, David." And they all just gang up on David, and David just, "You know what? Fine. But I'm not done here." And David just walks away. As we go to commercial, and when we come back, the crowd perks right back up again, because Sami Zayn makes an appearance, and Sami goes up against Stardust, and Stardust making his first official appearance since turning on his brother last week actually, yeah, making his first appearance since turning on his brother. And not only does he beat Sami, but he calls out his brother, saying that Goldust can bring in whoever he wants. But next week on Raw, he has no problem going face to face with his brother and explaining his actions, but no sooner than that. Now we hit up the main event. As I mentioned earlier, Dean Ambrose would be in action, and Dean Ambrose is in action in the main event tonight against Kofi Kingston, as Ambrose's challenge continues as he goes up against random, I will admit, random challengers, and this being Kofi Kingston. But it doesn't end here, as Ambrose gets attacked by The Miz and Alex Riley, and then The Miz gets on the mic as he stands over. Just picture this: The Miz is in the ring, standing over Dean Ambrose, a beaten and battered Dean Ambrose, with Alex Riley by his side, and the Intercontinental title raised high above his head, and he says, with the mic in his other hand, "I am the most must-see WWE Intercontinental Champion in history. And you people are just like him. You need to accept it. Because I raise this title's prestige. I make it important. I make it mean something. Because I'm an A-lister. Because I am The Miz. And I am the last sight you'll see tonight. Because I should always end the show." And The Miz actually does. I will admit that the show wasn't supposed to end there. But I forgot a segment. There was supposed to be a segment involving John Cena and Kevin Owens, but I'm just gonna save that Excuse me, I got the hiccups. I'm just gonna save that segment for Raw on Monday. So that means you will see John Cena and Kevin Owens this Monday night on Raw, along with Randy Orton in action against Chris Sabin, and Mr. McMahon returns to address what the last appearance from the Hacker, and what he'll do if the Hacker does in fact have a surprise for Vince McMahon at WrestleMania. But for that, you'll have to wait till the next video, because we are done for now with this video. If you enjoyed the video, leave a like, and subscribe to the channel for more content just like this that you can only find right here at Wrestling Express. Till next time.